Together with American songwriter, we had the opportunity to talk to Cat Clyde.
Adam was able to talk to Cat over Zoom audio. Check out her new acoustic album and book of poems out called Good Bones.
Make sure to check out our YouTube channel and Facebook page at Bringing It Backwards, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Bringing Back Pod.
We'd appreciate your support if you follow and subscribe to our podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts.
We're Bringing It Backwards with Cat Clyde.
Hello.
Hey, how are you? How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. So our podcast, I'm not sure how familiar you are with it, but we talk to people about how they got into music and their journey to where they are today.
Cool.
So you want to tell me a little bit about where you grew up?
Yeah, sure. I grew up in Perth County, Ontario, sort of like a small country area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and went to high school.
Yeah, I grew up in Canada.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about your high school. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay. Just went to like nearby high school in Stratford, Ontario. So that was like my biggest town close by. But yeah, really grew up in a rural area and really loved being in the country and live in the country now, and still really love being in nature and being in the country. But yeah, that's sort of where I'm from. And I lived briefly in London, Ontario. That's where I went to school for music industry arts.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I did that for 2 years, and I did a year of, you sort of have to do the year of like college before you can get into the program you want to.
Oh, right.
Into.
Okay. Yeah.
Sort of joke year.
Right.
So,
all the classes that you'll never use.
Yeah, exactly. And
yeah.
so yeah, and then met a lot of really great people in music industry arts and in London. And, you know, I made my first record after I graduated. And yeah, I made that with a friend I met in MIA named Patrick Faulkner, and then a professor of the program helped produce it as well.
Wow.
It was cool. It was really great. And Patrick, he had a sort of home studio at his house, and we just sort of worked out of his basement, and, you know, he engineered it and played almost all the instruments, and he's just really fantastic. And it was a really awesome experience to make a record like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
How'd you get into music originally? Like, what inspired you? Did you get a guitar? Like, did you learn piano? How did you get into music?
When I was young, I did piano lessons for a short time. Looking back now, I really wish I would have kept up with that.
That's what everybody says. I've heard that so many times. It's like,
yeah.
I'm trying to get my 12-year-old to keep playing, because everybody I've talked to says either I played piano and my parents made me do lessons and I'm so happy they did, or I really didn't want to do it and then I did and now I'm so, you know what I mean? Or my biggest regret is not taking up those piano lessons that my parents gave me.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. Yeah, so
you had piano. That's good.
Yeah, and I did that for a little, and I also had a few of my uncles played guitar really well, and I always loved watching them play. I'd go hang out at my grandparents for a couple weeks out of the summer every year, and my grandfather also played the fiddle, like beautiful country sort of stuff. Wow. So that was probably like my first introduction to music. And then when I got to around like 14, I started playing guitar.
Okay.
And then I had some neighborhood friends who were whose parents owned a music store. And so I ended up like working there and teaching guitar to small children.
Oh, cool. Oh, they own like like with instruments and stuff, not like a record store.
Yeah, it was like a lesson, place.
Cool.
So they taught lessons and sold gear and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I did that, and then I was in high school. I was in a few bands, and just sort of finding the music that I really loved and gravitated towards, and really started getting into like blues music and folk music and country, and I didn't really have a lot of like music in my house growing up, and nobody I really knew played a lot of music. So the only music I really knew was like sort of like party, like at my grandparents', like country music sort of. And then, my mom just listening to like Shania Twain and stuff, which is not really my taste. So, yeah, so I didn't have like a too much influence. I didn't really know any artists or anything until like I really got into high school and started, getting more into music. And then I found blues music, and it just totally changed everything for me. It was like, okay, I don't even care about any of this other stuff. Like, I just need more of this.
Mm-hmm. What drew you to the blues? Like, what artists were you listening to?
Oh, well, actually it was, I was like, I had a friend who was like really into Nirvana. And so I started listening to, looking up the Nirvana on YouTube, and I saw him play Where Did You Sleep Last Night? And I thought, oh, that's such a great tune. And then I noticed like, it said, oh, written by Leadbelly. And I was like, oh, I'll check that out. And I remember so vividly playing that, and it just destroyed my world. It was like, wow, I can't even believe there are actual recordings of music like this. And, it's just like, I just wanted more of it. I just couldn't get enough, wanted more. Just where do I get it? That was it for me.
Wow.
That led me to like jazz and, all the great jazz singers like Billie Holiday and Etta James. And yeah, it's just, that was definitely the beginning of that road though.
Wow. Yeah. Leadbelly, man, that's that's going real far back there, isn't it? Like, I mean,
oh man, yeah.
Around it like the early 1900s.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy because like, nobody was really listening to that kind of stuff. And, when I heard it, it was just kind of sort of like unbelievable to me that was accessible, and, you could listen to that. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Wow. When you were in high school, and you said you started bands, what sound did you guys have? Or like, were you writing songs and stuff?
Yeah, I was writing some songs. I don't know. It was kind of like, it was more like, oh geez, I don't know. Like, yeah, I guess like when I first started going in bands, that was before I heard like blues music. So it was kind of just more like contemporary, like, I don't know, like more, I don't even know, man. I wouldn't know how to describe.
Rock and roll.
Yes, sort
like
of,
adult contemporary.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, just like, yeah. So like
nice.
Songwriter, rock and roll, sort of. But
yeah. When did you write your first song? Like, how old were you when you started writing music?
Oh, geez. Oh, how old was I when I wrote my first song? I don't know. I was probably like 13 or 14 when I started playing the guitar. But I didn't write a good song till I was like 17 or 18.
So when did you write your good? When you're 17 and 18, you said you wrote a good song. And then where were you at in your life at that point? Were you still going to high school? Were you in college at this point?
Yeah, I was going to high school, and I that's when I wrote the song All the Black. And that was probably like the first song I was ever proud of. And that's on my second record. And it's funny because it wasn't on the first record. I just didn't really think it was that great. And played it around, and people really loved it. So I thought maybe I'll put that on the second record.
That's interesting. So the first record you said was the one that you wrote in college or recorded in college?
Yeah, I kind of had all those songs written previous to recording. I just sort of had a collection of songs, and that was kind of my collection, and then decided to record it into a record.
Wow. Where did you go to college again? I'm sorry, in London, or what's it?
In London, Ontario. Yeah.
London, Ontario. Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, I knew she said London, but then I didn't understand. Like,
yeah.
Okay. So you went to that school. For some reason,
everywhere in Canada, everything is named England names. So that's a thing.
That's interesting. I've never been to Canada. I've interviewed quite a few artists from Canada, and they're all like some of the nicest people I've ever spoke to.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
that's a good thing to come.
So you went to school in London, Ontario, and was this a music? You said it's a music and arts school.
Yeah, it was called Music Industry Arts, and it was basically like recording, engineering, production, live performance.
Nice.
Yeah, songwriting.
Yeah. How did you get into that school? Did you have to like audition or?
Yeah, you had to have like you had to like record a couple of songs and submit them, and that was it. You didn't really have to audition, you just had to submit recordings, because it was mostly recording.
You didn't have to actually record yourself. It could just be a recording and something that you've worked on, or
actually,
as a songwriter,
I'm not sure. I think actually,
yourself.
Yeah, I think you were able to record someone else, but I just like wanted to record. So I had a friend, and her brother was in the program. He was in the second year of the program, so he sort of just let me into the studios, and we just recorded my stuff there so that it sounded really good, and I'd get in basically.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So then you get in to the school, and what songs did you submit? Do you remember? Like, are they songs you play today?
Oh no, I think one was like a Tegan and Sarah song,
Cool.
And another was a Tilly and the Wall song.
Oh, okay. So they were both covers.
Yeah, just cover songs. Yeah.
When did you record the first record? Like, how many years into the school were you?
After I graduated.
So you had already graduated completely.
Yeah.
And was that first album put out on a label, or you just did it and
well, I put it out myself, and then played it around, and actually was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to open up for Shaky Graves, like pretty soon after making that, in London, Ontario. And so that was pretty neat. And then about a year, about 8 months after that, 6 months, started getting some emails and stuff from labels, and ended up meeting with someone from Cinematic, which is who I'm with now. And so basically signed with them, and then took everything down and then re-released it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw off that first record, that song Mama Said has over 11 million plays. Like, was that just a organic hit that came off that record? Was it Spotify playlisted? Do you remember how that one just kind of?
It's crazy actually, because that's how the labels sort of started kind of calling, because that song was kind of, I don't know, people were really loving that song, and it was getting a lot of play, and it all happened very organically. It was really crazy and strange, and it's interesting to see, the people who really love that song. Like, I got it on a some sort of surf magazine or surf website or something, and I've seen so many things since of like, oh, this is like the best surf song, and so it's like a really big surf song, I guess, which is
that's
cool.
Funny. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Were you into surfing at all, or
no?
Ever.
Surfing through the snow, maybe.
Yeah, it's funny how that will happen, where certain songs will get, picked up by totally different genres or different demographics of people.
Yeah.
And they perceive it a certain way.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome.
Great. Yeah.
When the label started calling you, did you just have it up on Spotify or like SoundCloud or something? Is that how it started?
Yeah, I can't exactly remember where like I had it released. Like I think I had it on like Apple Music and Spotify.
Okay.
But yeah, and then took it all down and then re-released it with the label.
Mm-hmm. And before you signed to the label, were you touring at all, or were you just playing locally? You said you played with Shaky Graves in London, Ontario.
I was kind of playing and then playing locally, and then, just sort of kind of started playing by myself more. And, the guitar player just had stuff that he wanted to go do. So kind of, and then I don't know. I just didn't really think, I was happy that I made a record and, wasn't really sure what the future held. And then sort of all came up right up to my feet. So that was cool.
And then what was next for you? Is that when you started writing the next record? Hunter's
Yeah.
Thing?
I mean, I had a few songs and just kept collecting them like during, after I got signed to the label. I started touring pretty heavily for like 3 years.
Wow. Just on that first album?
Well, yeah, I guess I released that album in 2017. Yeah. So like 2.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was just like by myself. So it was just me and my guitar and my partner, and we just drive all over the United States and Canada and sometimes fly, which was crazy for me because I'd never really left like my hometown before. So I only flew on a plane for the first time like maybe 2 years ago.
Wow. Where'd you fly to?
I think my first flight was to I think it was to LA, or it was to Texas. Yeah, it was to Texas. Yeah.
Very cool.
And I've been on many
first flight was
since.
here to the United States. That's awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that first tour, you said you were just touring with your partner and you and a guitar in a car. Like, were you touring with other, another artist, another band?
Yeah, I was generally like opening. I did like one solo tour, but generally I was just opening. I opened for a lot of different artists like Joe Purdy and Rodriguez, which was like one of the highlights of my life.
Yeah. How'd you get that tour?
Oh
Just
my
the
gosh.
label?
I don't know how I got that, but that was like such an incredible time for me. It was really amazing.
Why was it so great? If you don't.
Oh, because I was touring with a legend, man. A living legend.
Aside from that, but like, was there like, were they cool with you? Like, tell me about.
Oh, his
like,
whole team was just such. Oh, his whole team was so lovely. It was like mainly his family that was just taking care of him, and awesome. His whole team was just so lovely, and all the venues we played were just so beautiful, and these beautiful theaters. And I got to watch Rodriguez play every night, and it was like so amazing. It was just so amazing.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And with that first tour, were those some of the biggest, or with that tour at least, were those some of the biggest crowds you had played for?
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Because he played these really big, beautiful theaters, and with the red velvet curtains and the spotlights, and very big rooms. Wow. But it was really cool. Yeah.
That's
just
awesome.
Walking out all on my lonesome. It's a pretty crazy time.
Did you have like a big tour bus and stuff, and did you guys just have to follow him? Like, how did the tour work? Or because you only have a guitar and you and another person, did you get to like go with them? Like, how did that work?
He just traveled in like a vehicle, and then I think they stayed in hotels and stuff. So I just stayed at my own hotel and whatever.
Oh,
but
right.
he's quite old. He's he's got to be almost 80 now, and
because his stuff came out like, I mean, his bigger stuff was like from the 70s.
Yeah, and he's also completely blind. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's a lot, but he was just such an amazing soul, and you know, his family and his team had to make sure that he would stop talking to people because he'd just sit there all night and talk to people. But you know, he can only do so much. You know.
Yeah, totally.
They'd have to tell him, "We gotta go, man." So yeah,
that's cool. And so that was all in the first touring on that first record.
I mean, yeah, I think Rodriguez was a little later, but yeah, that was on with the first record, I think.
So the second album comes out, and then tell me about those songs. Like you said you're on the road for most of the time. Were you writing these songs when you're on the road? How did the second album come
sort of on and off. Like I don't really like I don't know, just catch them when they come, not really think too much about it or worry too much about it. And then, you know, after enough time passes, you got a little pocket full of them, and then you can sort through it and see what's good, you know?
Mm-hmm. Was that different? Obviously, like recording that second record, because you did the first one like on your own, right? With just your professor was like the producer, right? And
yeah,
recorded at your school. And then for the second album that was probably done with the label and stuff, right?
Yeah, it was very different. I went with a producer, Nicholas Vernies, and he was really amazing. I rented a cabin in Ontario, this log cabin, and I found this band in Toronto named Carlo, and I was out one night, and I went to the Rex in Toronto, which is sort of like the jazz bar in Toronto. I just wanted to go see some live music, and they were playing, and they're sort of like a surf soul band, instrumental band. And I just thought they were really, really amazing. So I think I saw them in December, and then ended up going to record for 2 weeks in February. So it all happened very fast. And we didn't have too many rehearsals, honestly. I think maybe just a handful of rehearsals. And then we went into the studio, which was the log cabin, and we recorded the whole record. And then when I finished that, I realized that some of the songs just weren't right. And so I had to look elsewhere, and ended up, was really anxious and sort of scrambling, where do I go from here? What do I do? I need to find the right people. And so I ended up going to Bear Creek, which was in Seattle, to work with Ryan Hadlock.
Oh, okay.
Who was a friend of the label, the head of the label at Cinematic. And so I went to go work with him and work with studio musicians, which was very new experience for me. And the experience was good, but it was really hard, and I didn't really feel like me and the producer weren't really on the same page for a lot of things. So it was kind of a difficult time, but I learned a lot, and I got some good songs out of it. I got Any More out of it, which was really great. The players that came in for that was really lovely, and we recorded it live, and it's really, really cool. And the studio itself was just really lovely, and everyone there was really lovely. So I left there, ended up didn't get all the songs again. I was there for 3 weeks. And so I had a few more songs that just didn't feel quite right to me. So then I went to my friend Jeremy Albino. He's his parents have a place out in Prince Edward County, up in northern Ontario, and so we went there and just had a bunch of equipment and just recorded the rest of the record there, which was I Don't Belong Here and Reach It.
You mentioned Anymore. Is that like your favorite song from the record? You said that one came out. Like you,
I'm not sure if that's my favorite one, but I really love the way it turned out.
Okay. Just from that session, you said that was the one.
Yeah, that was definitely my favorite one from that session.
Right on. And then did you do some more touring on when Hunter's Trance came out?
Yeah. Yeah, I did. Oh geez, that was this past year. Yeah, so I went to Europe and toured it there, and with a guitar player, and then I did a bunch of release shows like around, which was really crazy. Like one was in LA, one was in Toronto, one was in New York.
Wow.
And then and then I was just preparing for like a full band headlining tour in the fall. Which was really crazy because I had this whole band ready to go, and then less than 2 weeks before we were set to leave, they decided they didn't want to go anymore.
Oh wow!
So I had to find an entirely new band.
Oh my gosh!
That would be free for the next 2 months to live in the car.
Yeah. So the whole band decided, hey, we're not going to go.
Yeah, there was some. There was just some changes of hearts and things like that. You know, things like that happen.
Yeah.
So it was for the best though, because I ended up, meeting this really fantastic guitar player named Graham Young, and which was just crazy to have met him at that perfect time. And really great friend of mine who I met in college, Wes Martin, he came with me and played the bass, and then my partner Strummer, he played the drums, and so that was our crew. And also Wes's girlfriend Jules came, and she did merch, and she also sang some really wicked backup harmonies. So it really all worked out, and we all really became a family, and lived on the road for over 2 months. So
wow,
it's crazy.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Wow. And then now you have an album coming out and a poetry book.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. When did you get into writing poetry?
I think I've always kind of just been like writing little poems, and I think, when you write songs, you probably write poems too. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but that's how I, like to do it. And, so then, and then I was trying to really write poems on the road, during that last tour, because, I find everything can just become a big blur. And if you don't take the time to sort of write down things that are happening, it's pretty easy for things to get lost, for me anyway. So,
totally.
and then I thought, I've always kept my poems really private. It's not really something I really liked sharing, but I just felt recently that I just want to put myself out there a bit more. So I decided to do a little poetry book and see what happens. Yeah.
So you're putting out the poetry book, and then you're putting out previously recorded songs, like acoustic versions.
Yeah. So I was on the road for so long, just by myself, and the only recordings I have are with full band. So I really felt like a lot of those songs are really beautiful and cool in their sort of basic form, and I wanted to have a recording of that. Yeah.
And it looks like, from what I read, you're going to be recording and releasing it from your own home studio.
Yeah, I'm actually in the process of building it currently.
Wow.
So yeah, just finished painting the floors a couple weeks ago, and just sort of building sound absorption and installing storage and slowly accumulating gear and cool furniture. So
Nice.
it's kind of been difficult because of the whole COVID thing, but
Sure.
hopefully, you know, the antiquing season still is still coming up, because my area is really good for that. So I've been really looking forward to you know, the end of this month is probably the best time of the year. People just sort of throw a bunch of furniture and stuff on the ends of their driveways. So
Oh, really?
yeah, it's like
That's
plan on going.
interesting.
Yeah,
May's
going
the
out.
month for collecting furniture, huh?
Yes, yes, it is. So yeah.
So you're still building the studio now, so you haven't had a chance to start recording any of the songs. You just know which ones you want to do.
For the acoustic record.
Yeah, for the one that.
Actually, we had like a very
that.
small space for recording, and then I just recorded basically all the songs. I recorded them in February, so they're all done being recorded. Wow. And nice. I'm currently working on a new record, so I'm wanting to just record it here in the new studio. So just trying to get the studio done.
Okay,
and they'll be released.
So that album's coming out with the poetry book.
Yes.
And then you're going to record a brand new record.
Yes.
Fully from your home studio.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about the stripped back record. What is that? When does that and the poetry book come out? Do you have a release date yet?
I know it's in June. I should probably know the date of that. I don't know it, but it's in June. So
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Exciting. And then the new album. So you're just gonna, obviously with COVID, you don't really know, but once that studio's built, you're gonna have your band come in, or is it gonna be just you on guitar? Are you gonna play everything? Like, what are you thinking for the next album?
I'm definitely gonna have you know, my band play some things on it. Right now I'm just sort of doing pre-production and figuring out the songs and, you know, what I want their vibe to be, and you know, what the heart of each one is, and then I'll start. I'm not really sure. I mean, I guess I had originally planned to, you know, have them come up here and do everything live, but with all this that's happened, I've been sort of leaning more towards, you know, getting a lot of the song built up, and then sort of either having them come in or just send me tracks to layer on top. So I haven't quite decided, but just sort of rolling with the way it's going right now.
Yeah, totally. So you already have those songs ready? You're just trying to arrange them now?
Yeah, I've got like more than enough songs, so I'm just sort of like arranging them now, and then, you know, I'll decide which ones I want to put on the record, and then and I've written a few more since, you know, just the isolation has been like really inspiring, and it's been really creatively great for me. So I've written quite a few more, so just trying to sort of polish them up and narrow them down and get them ready for the next steps.
Right on. Very cool.
Yeah.
And with this whole quarantine thing, have you been able to, you said you're writing a lot. Have you done any of the like live sessions? Are you doing any of the streaming sessions?
Yeah, I've done a few, and then I have another one this Saturday, which I haven't really done one on my own yet. So this will be the first one that I've done sort of on my own.
Oh, cool. How are you doing the other ones? Like jumping on other people's channels and stuff?
Yeah, like on Monday I did Bands in Town, which was a lot of fun. And then, so this Saturday I'm just going to do on my YouTube channel.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And are you just going to play some acoustic songs, or what were you thinking?
Yeah, just sort of play some acoustic songs, and I was also doing like a DJ drawing live stream, which I basically just sort of like spun records, and then each song that I spin, I like draw a picture while the song is being played, and then encourage people to do the same, either like draw a picture or paint or dance or do whatever you want. And then at the end, you have
cool.
like 5 or 6 little drawings, and then I get them to send me the drawings, and then I pick the ones I really like and post them, and it's pretty cool. I just get sent a lot of like really awesome artwork done by people who were listening to some tunes I was spinning on my record player. So that's pretty cool.
That is cool. What stuff are you spinning? Like what records?
Like soul and blues and jazz and stuff. I did it for like 3 weeks, I think, and then I didn't do it the last 2 weeks, and then I'm going to do it a few more times. So I think next week I'll be doing it again, and then for a couple weeks after that. So if you want to come join, you should.
Yeah, I will. I want to check it out.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Are you going to do anything with your poetry, like poetry readings or anything like that?
Oh, geez. I don't know if I have the confidence for that just yet.
Do you think will that be more, is it more vulnerable to release the poetry book, or like putting songs
Definitely.
out into the world?
Definitely the poetry book. Yeah.
Nice. Well, Kat, thank you so much for chatting with me today. And
yeah, it was a great conversation. It was super chill. A lot of times it's not like that. So this was really comfortable, and it was really great. So thanks a lot.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. That's great. I have one more question for you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Probably just like spend a shitload of time finding out who you are, and then just be that person.